Welcome to the Wowee edition of the UCF podcast. My name's Clark, and I'm here with my co-host Francis. We got
Hello.
ourselves a stinker of a fight night, but it is a rematch. We got Tybura versus Spivac 2. Francis, let's talk about this main event.
Yeah, so they fought each other quite a long time ago, and they've both done a lot since then. I learned just today, actually, that Marcin Tybura is in fact 39 years old. And even though these two don't really look like there's that much of an age difference between them, Sergey Spivac is only 29 years old. And if we do check the odds on this one, the UFC stat page doesn't have them up yet, but I've gone and looked around. Sergey Spivac is currently the favorite to win this fight. This really is just like a mirror match. This is Street Fighter, where you both pick the same guy, so the character gets a different haircut on your friend's controller. They're the same height. They have the same reach. They have honestly similar records.
8 and 9. Yeah, I know. Like, this very close.
Right? Like, if you just gave Sergey another 10 years, his record probably looks like Marcin Tybura's. And beyond that, these guys are both grapplers predominantly and are getting a lot of their wins on the ground. The biggest difference, I think, is that Sergey Spivac relies on the grappling more, and that Marcin Tybura is maybe grittier and more. He's just a tougher veteran. He's seen it all. He's been in there with plenty of the division's top guys over the years. He has also been a showcase win for a lot of guys in this division going forward. Marcin Tybura is maybe next to Derek Lewis, the ultimate gatekeeper at heavyweight. I guess Curtis Blades is now up there too, now that he's not really a contender. But really, I think, man, it's so tough to pick on this one because these guys are kind of like a mirror match. But I think just the age, man, and Sergey Spivac is a little bit more aggressive. He's got more of a concrete game plan of how he's going to try to get you out of there. But I don't think Tybura is getting submitted, and I don't think Spivac's getting submitted. And unless it ends by ground and pound with one of these guys on top, I don't see it I don't see it as being a finish. In the later rounds, I think Tybura will have more of an advantage. He's just been around longer. He's seen more. But I'm still going to be picking Sergey Spivac. He's younger. He just has less miles on the clock, man. And for two guys fighting a very similar style of fight, that's something you want.
Yeah, pretty reasonable opinion. I think my only concern with Spivac is that he hasn't fought in just about a year. Tybura did fight in March, and he won by submission. Not the biggest deal necessarily, but one of those things that gets you a little worried when you're making picks like this. Maybe he was out for a reason, something going on. He's got some sort of injury. It's going to flare up. I do think, though, that it's really just going to be that age difference. Spivac, he's just a little younger. I don't know. This one's one of those ones that's hard to pick. It's not that Tybura is necessarily bad, but it's just you're a little older, got a few more miles on you. Your joints are all creaky. It's tough to go for that guy that's a little bit older. And I think that Vegas.
Why do you have to talk about my joints like that?
Yeah, well, I could hear them, dude. Yeah, like I'm putting my noise suppression on, dude. I could still hear them. Stop moving. Yeah, it's tough for like a pick like this, but I honestly do think that Spivac is just like a younger version of Tybura. And when he wins by unanimous decision, he's gonna like absorb Tybura's soul and get his hair.
God, what a haircut, eh?
I know, man. He's looking good. He's got more hair than me.
All right, moving down, Damon Jackson versus Chepe Mariscal. Damon Jackson is just a perfectly unremarkable fighter. He's been in the UFC for a long time, 4 years actually. He had his debut back in 2020. Every single time he has been matched up against a guy with a little bit of talent, he loses. And he has been swimming around at the bottom of the UFC featherweight division for a long time. He's picked up more wins than losses. He's 6-3 in those 4 years. But man, he has trouble when he's at a power disadvantage. He has trouble when he has to fight at an elevated pace. And these are things that Chepe Mariscal has been showing that he likes to do in the UFC. He's 3-0 in his UFC run already. I believe he has the power advantage. I think he has a better chin. I'm picking Chepe Mariscal in this one.
Yeah, this is one of those ones that seems like a bit of a feed. Mariscal is newer to the UFC. He just came in a year ago. He's had 3 fights. He's won all 3 of them. This is clearly a situation where they're just throwing him a guy on a fight night, see if you can actually win this. You get 4 wins, maybe we'll throw you someone actually serious. Unfortunately, I don't think Jackson is the serious one. I got to go with Mariscal as well.
All right, awesome.
It's not awesome.
You're right. And another thing that's not awesome is when we can't expand the little fighter thing on the UFC webpage.
Oh well. Dude. Our fans are laughing at us, dude.
Danny Barlow versus Nikolai Veretennikov. This is both. This seems like it should be a pretty straightforward fight, but there is a little bit of intrigue going on here. Nikolai is actually pretty heavy-handed. He has a lot of knockouts out on the regional scene. He is in his UFC debut right now. He was on the Dana White's Contender Series a little while ago, but he lost it was Michael Morales, who has gone on to look pretty good in the UFC welterweight divisions. That's not a terrible loss. And I mean, since then, he hasn't lost, but he's going up against Danny Barlow, who also gets knockouts, is significantly taller. Danny Barlow is 6'2", Nikolai is 6 foot. He also has a 5-inch reach advantage. When you have two strikers, two power punchers, two guys who both get knockouts, and they're mostly doing it with their rear hand, I'm going to pick the guy with the better reach, who's taller, longer, and has already got his first fight in the UFC. He's already got his first win. So I'm going to be picking Danny Barlow on this one. I wouldn't be completely. What's that?
That? It's the reach watch alarm.
They're coming, dude. But yeah, no, Danny Barlow, I think, is going to get the win here.
Yeah, honestly, reach advantage might be just as simple as that. Two strikers. I mean, you hate to see it. Sometimes the guy's stronger, sometimes he's better, but if you got that reach advantage, you can just tag a guy every time he comes in. Barlow, baby, don't let us down.
Absolutely. Jeez Louise. All right, next up we have Chris Gutierrez versus Quang Lee. Chris Gutierrez has already had his push from the UFC. He got to fight the ghost of Frankie Edgar. He knocked him out with a knee. After that win, everyone's looking to him to potentially be a surging prospect, to start to put it all together. He hasn't been able to do that yet. He's taken some losses in this UFC bantamweight division. He is facing off against Quang Lee. This is like a super last-minute replacement. He was supposed to be fighting Javid Basharat. He's pulled out. Quang Lee's moving in. Lee is a knockout artist, and I'm willing to say that because he's already picked up 2 knockouts this year already. He's dangerous, man, and he's a hard hitter. Chris Gutierrez is dangerous in his own right, but just not to that same level, I don't think. I'm gambling to some extent because we don't know how Lee is going to look against UFC competition yet, but I'm betting that power is going to translate well. I think Chris Gutierrez is going to have his hands full, and I'm picking Quang Lee.
Yeah. Definitely getting the same type of vibes as you. Quang Lee's got those 2 knockouts this year, both of them in round 1, I believe. This is a guy who is dangerous. He's going to take you out, but he does have a little bit of groundwork as well. I don't think he's going to rely on that necessarily, but always good to have that to mix in. This is a guy that I'm a little excited about. I hope that he does well. A lot of debuts, they go tits up, but this is a guy that I think might be able to pull it off. I'm going to go with Quang Lee.
In agreement there. Moving down to Yana Santos versus Chelsea Chandler. I went back and forth on this one while I was doing research because I looked at that loss on Yana Santos's record to Carol Rosa last year, and I thought, ooh, she hasn't picked up a win since, 2020 or something like that? And then I realized, oh no, she actually won that fight. That was like a super robbery. And that's probably why Carol Rosa is further down this card than Yana Santos is. That having been said, Chelsea Chandler is the younger fighter. She's the taller fighter. And she actually has a TKO win in the UFC in this women's bantamweight.
Women's bantamweight? Holy shit, give her a title shot now.
Well, if she could have put 2 of those together, they probably would have. She's lost since that TKO, but she's coming off of a win. Correct me if I'm wrong, Editor Francis. But I think Chelsea Chandler is just a more aggressive fighter. I think Yana Santos has been, I don't know, she's been gliding on some good performance from 4 years ago. She didn't look amazing in her last fight. The fact that it could be, a split decision loss going the wrong way. I should just litigate that quickly. Yana Santos very clearly won rounds 1 and 2 of her fight against Carol Rosa, and Carol Rosa won round number 3, and the judges decided to give the whole damn fight to Rosa. So that's just why I'm complaining about that. But that having been said, like, she got tired in round number 3 and then ended up losing the whole fight because of it.
And we know that women's fights tend to go to round number 3. So,
yeah. So I'm picking Chelsea Chandler in this one. I think she's going to be able to get it done. And as of right now, this is my only underdog pick looking down this card, I believe.
Well, I mean, hopefully great minds think alike, because I was having some similar thoughts about Santos and Chandler. Santos doesn't feel, and I know it's women's bantamweight, but she doesn't really feel like she should be ranked number 12 given her recent performances. Against Rosa, I don't know, maybe we went back and watched it. She took a huge amount of damage or something in round 2, but yeah, she probably got robbed on that one. But I'm just not convinced anymore. I honestly don't think either of these fighters are incredibly spectacular, but I think that Chandler's going to be able to edge it out, maybe even by split decision, but I'm going to go with Chandler.
Yeah, not looking forward to that fight. I am kind of looking forward to this fight, though. Toshiomi Kazama versus, can you say that name, Clark?
Charalampos Gregorio.
Thank you very much. The story of this fight, in my eyes, is that Toshiomi is coming off of 2 knockout losses, and Gregorio, who I believe is in his UFC debut here. No?
I think he lost.
Okay, well, I'll cut
in his
that
debut.
part.
He lost in his debut. It was unanimous decision, I think.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I think it was in March.
What are we thinking about? Let me just double check.
We got some thoughts?
Yeah, no, you're right. He did lose because that's a Canadian fighter right there. I do.
Whoa.
But
that was a pretty bad loss too. Damn.
Yeah, that sucks. But out of those 8 wins that he has, 6 of them came by knockout. And Toshiomi, again, last 2 fights lost by knockout. I'm going to be picking Gregorio on this one. Like I said, he's not a huge favorite right now. But representing Cyprus, we gotta pick those rare flags every once in a while.
That's what I say. You can't say that. Yeah, the UCF podcast has an incredible bias against rare flags. If you have a rare flag fighter, then we tend to be more likely to pick you. I didn't actually look at Gregorio's last fight until just now, and don't look very good. He kind of got his shit pushed in, and it went all the way. He had 8 significant strikes in round number 3, 21 of the whole fight versus 85.
A lot of grappling going on there.
85 is, it's a lot of strikes. And I mean, 68 of those strikes were at distance for the other guys. So
that is not a lot.
Well, I just makes me a little worried. I was kind of on the Gregorio train, but now I'm a little reserved about it. I'm not quite as sure. I mean, Cosmo does have a little bit of a reach advantage. It's probably stupid because I'm just like second guessing myself at this point, essentially. But I mean, maybe if Cosmo doesn't get knocked out in the first round, maybe he's a half decent fighter. So I'm going to go with Cosmo.
Finally splitting our picks on this card.
Got to split somewhere, right?
Thank goodness. Because if we pick all the same fighters and then I get everything wrong,
What do you mean, I'm one picking. You're not picking.
Moving down. Wow. Carol Rosa. Funny
Remember
seeing
her?
you here. I hope you didn't hear me talking all that smack about you earlier. She's coming off of a split decision win against Yana Santos that I personally really do not think she won. She's taken on Penny Kianzad, who just hasn't looked very impressive either in the UFC. Both of these girls have a very, long UFC career of trading wins and losses. I'm picking Penny Kianzad just because of that last performance. I'm really just because Carol Rosa got a robbery victory. I'm picking her opponent. I don't think she's right. Like, if you win a fight that you didn't actually win, does that not just reinforce bad decision making?
Yeah, and she's higher ranked now, and it's like, I don't think you deserve that. I don't think you're actually that good necessarily. And again, I don't think that Penny Kianzad is that good either. But Rosa might be in a position that she otherwise wouldn't be in if she didn't win a iffy split decision. And I think that, again, the UFC might even be recognizing that by the fact that she's on the prelims where Santos is on the main card. So I got to go with Kanzat as well. I don't know. Maybe it'll be a mistake, but hey, I could see a submission happening.
All right, we're picking underdogs, but only for the women's fights today.
Because we know women.
Mm,
We're in touch with our
we
feminine side.
we really just get them.
Mm-hmm.
Moving to our heavyweight bout of the evening, Janata Denise versus Carl Williams. Denise, for what it's worth, is actually kind of good. He won his UFC debut. He has a whole bunch of wins by knockout. But the other thing that happened to him in his UFC debut is he was held on the mat for like 5 minutes of round number one. And then in round number two, he was able to, stuff a takedown because the guy who took him down got tired out somehow. Carl Williams, I don't think is going to get tired. He's been picking up wins in the UFC since he got here. He's a determined and gritty wrestler. And I think all he really has to do is shoot 1 to 2 takedowns around and, pitter patter punches on top to get this win. I don't expect him to make it an exciting fight, but if Janata Deniz wins, it's probably by knockout. So fingers crossed, but I'm not going to cross my fingers on the pick here. I am picking Carl Williams.
Yeah, this fight's going to suck ass because what you just said is the most likely scenario. Williams will take him down, and it'll be a heavyweight wrestling match, which is synonymous with like purgatory at the very least, if not the first circle of hell. My hope, my prayer is that Deniz tags him at some point while he's like shooting a takedown and we get a heme. So I'm going to go with Deniz just on a hope, really. Maybe if I pick him, he'll like take some of my energy and then that will happen. So Deniz, don't let me down.
He's probably gonna.
No.
Before that, I remember just kind of like casually realizing that Yusuf Zalal had been cut. And that was one of those moments where you realize just how cutthroat UFC featherweight is. Zalal got cut from the UFC, got a couple of wins outside. I think he chained together 2 knockouts, 1 submission. Then he got back into the UFC and he's been winning since he's been back. He's been using grappling a lot more since getting cut. He won his last fight, I believe, by submission. And he's taken on Jarno Aarons, who, in my notes for my pre-fight research, I wrote, can't grapple, gets taken down in every fight, has shot 7 takedowns in the UFC and never finished one of them. Now, he did win his last fight, and I believe he's coming off of a performance of the night bonus winning fight as well. So if this fight stays on the feet, he definitely has a shot. If he can make it ugly, if he can make it gritty, the dude is a fighter. But really, really, you should expect Yusuf Zalal to eventually, somewhere in between round 1 and 3, get a submission win. That's what I expect. So I'm picking Yusuf Zalal, and I think he's the biggest favorite on this card right now.
Yeah, as of now. Who knows?
As of right now, but I mean, like this one really, this is another one of these fights that writes itself.
Yeah.
And ironically, really surprisingly, these guys have exactly the same record with even an equal number of draws. But
yeah, this might be one of those ones where we hyper focus a little bit on this one aspect, and then we just like look like morons come fight night. But I think I agree with you. Like that grappling is just gonna be so important. And Aaron's, maybe he's been working on it, right? Maybe every day in the gym. He's been grappling. I don't think that's what happened, though. And unfortunately, he's probably just going to get submitted. I'll go with Zalal. If we look stupid, then we look stupid. But I'm just not convinced that if you can't put the work in to this point to avoid that, I don't really know if you're ever going to get that work in. Maybe you just don't have the talent for it. I don't know, man. Forgive me.
Forgiveness not needed because he's going to lose. In our very first fight of the evening, Stephanie Luciano versus Talita Alankar. This is, I said this before we started recording, this is maybe the most interesting matchup on this entire card, if only because it's a rematch of a draw from Dana White's Contender Series. Do you watch Dana White's Contender Series? Maybe you know how these women looked during that draw. Talita Alankar, though, has had 1 UFC fight since then, and she got a split decision nod. Very close fight. She might not have won that. These girls are running it back. I'm going to be picking Stephanie Luciano. And actually, this plays into why I picked Sergey Spivac as well, is that Like, if you're unsure about a rematch and neither one of these fighters has reinvented themselves and done new things since that first fight, the younger fighter, statistically speaking, wins the rematch. Doesn't matter if it's boxing, wrestling, or mixed martial arts. That tends to be how things shake down. Stephanie Luciano, significantly younger than Talita Alencar. I'm going to be picking Stephanie Luciano. Like you said on the last one, maybe hyper fixating on one element, but I'm also picking the girl with a significant
reach watch, baby.
a significant reach advantage as well.
65.5. Come on. Look, I mean, Alencar, she's so little. She's 5'1". What's she doing down there?
Well, it is straw weight. It's okay to be that small.
I know, but I'm still just like, God damn, man. That's like so, I don't think you should. There's like the little people boxing league or whatever. She's pretty close. I'm going to go with Luciano.
The women's divisions are shorter.
I'm going to go with Luciano just because I feel like that's such a significant physical advantage. I don't know why she drew her in the contender series, no circumstances, but hopefully she figured it out, and then she'll win, and it'll be great, and I'll be right. I'll be incredibly correct.
We can only hope. And this has been our picks for Fight Night Tybura versus Spivac 2. You're probably not going to watch this fight card, but we will. We'll be back. We'll be back with you on Monday with our post-fight podcast. We hope to catch you then, and have a great week, guys.
All right, guys. Take care.